Standing here right now, you're making a choice. Every breath you take, every second that ticks by, you're choosing between two versions of yourself. One is weak, comfortable, and dying slowly in the shade of mediocrity. The other is strong, unstoppable, and ready to take control of your life. I'm not here to coddle you or tell you everything will be okay. I'm here to show you how to kill that weak self that's been holding you back. Inside each of us live two distinct beings. They battle constantly for control of your mind, your actions, and your future. Most people never understand this war happening within them. They wonder why they can't move forward, why they stay stuck, why their dreams slip through their fingers like sand. The answer is simple. They've let their weak self win too many times. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That voice that tells you to stay in bed instead of hitting the gym. The part of you that chooses TV over working on your goals. The weakness that makes you pick the easy path instead of the right one. It's time to end this internal civil war. Today, you'll learn how to identify this weak self, face it head on, and eliminate it from your life forever. The transformation starts now, and it starts with understanding a fundamental truth. Weakness isn't your natural state. It's a choice you've been making every day. Weakness for a moment, not the physical kind that comes from illness or injury, but the type that sneaks into your life wearing a mask of comfort. It's that subtle force that convinces you to take the easier path, to avoid confrontation, to settle for less than what you truly want. Weakness isn't just about lacking strength. It's about accepting less from yourself than you're capable of giving. At every morning when the alarm rings, the weak self whispers just 5 more minutes. Those 5 minutes turn to 30, and suddenly you're rushing through your morning, starting your day in chaos instead of control. That's weakness in action, stealing your time, your potential, your power to shape your day. Look at your goals, those dreams you wrote down months or years ago. Maybe it was starting a business, writing a book, or transforming your health. Where are those goals now, buried under a mountain of excuses, each one carefully crafted by your weak self? I'm too tired. It's not the right time. I'll start tomorrow. These aren't just harmless thoughts. They're the weapons weakness uses to keep you trapped. Weakness shows up in your relationships, too. It's there when you don't speak up for yourself, when you agree to things you don't want to do, when you let others determine your worth. It's in those moments when you know you should have a difficult conversation but choose silence instead. Each time you back down, your weak self grows stronger. At work, weakness disguises itself as being reasonable. It tells you not to ask for that promotion, not to share your ideas in meetings, not to take on challenging projects. Play it safe, it whispers. Don't rock the boat. And while you're playing it safe, opportunities pass you by, grabbed by those who dared to be strong. The cost of letting weakness run your life is astronomical. It's not just about missed opportunities or unfulfilled potential. It's about the slow death of your spirit, the gradual dimming of your inner fire. Each time you give in to weakness, you're trading your future for temporary comfort. The hours you've wasted scrolling through social media instead of building your dreams. Calculate the money you've spent on things you don't need because weakness told you buying something would make you feel better. Count the relationships you've lost because weakness made you afraid to be vulnerable, to be honest, to be real. But the greatest cost isn't in what weakness makes you do. It's in what it prevents you from doing. Every time weakness wins, a piece of your potential dies. Dreams fade, goals blur, and that powerful version of yourself gets buried deeper under layers of excuses and fear. This invisible tax of weakness compounds daily. While you're letting weakness make your choices, life moves forward. Time doesn't wait for you to feel ready. Opportunities don't pause until you feel confident. The world keeps turning and weakness keeps you standing still, watching life pass by like a spectator instead of a participant. Understanding weakness is crucial because you can't defeat an enemy you don't recognize. It's not just about the big moments. It's in those small daily decisions that seem insignificant but shape your character. Every time you choose comfort over growth, safety over opportunity, excuses over action, you're feeding your weak self and starving your potential. Here's where we turn the corner. Strength isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, moment by moment, choice by choice. Right now, in this exact second, you have the power to start this transformation. True strength doesn't come from muscle or money or status. It comes from something much more basic. your decisions. Every person who's ever achieved anything great started exactly where you are now. They weren't special. They weren't chosen. They simply made different choices. Take Sarah, a single mother I met in Detroit. 3 years ago, she was working 2 jobs, barely keeping her head above water. Her weak self told her this was her lot in life. But one morning, she decided enough was enough. She started waking up at 4 a.m. to study coding before her kids woke up. No excuses, no complaints, just action. Today, Sarah's a senior developer at a tech company, making 3 times what she used to earn. Was it easy? No. Did she want to quit every single day? But she understood something crucial. Strength grows through consistent action, not occasional bursts of motivation. Building physical strength. You don't get stronger by lifting weights once a month. You build strength through daily effort, through pushing past the point where your body wants to quit. Mental and emotional strength work the same way. Each time you do something your weak self says you can't, you're building strength. Look at Mike, a former factory worker who lost his job at 45. His weak self screamed that he was too old to start over, that he should just accept a lower standard of living. Instead, he took his severance pay and invested it in learning about business. He started small, buying and selling items online. His first month he made $100. His weak self told him it wasn't worth the effort. But Mike kept pushing. Within 2 years, Mike had built an e-commerce business making more money than his factory job ever paid. The strength he built wasn't just about business skills. It was about perseverance, about believing in himself when no one else did. These aren't just success stories. They're blueprints. They show us that strength comes from daily habits, from small choices that compound over time. It's about saying no to the easy path and yes to the challenging one. It's about doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. Tom, a guy who could barely run for 5 minutes without stopping. His weak self had 1,000 excuses. Bad knees, no time, too tired. But Tom made a simple decision. He would run for just 10 minutes every morning, no matter what. Rain, shine, tired, busy, no excuses. The first week was hell. His weak self fought him every step of the way, but he kept going. 6 months later, Tom completed his first marathon. Not because he was gifted, but because he understood that strength grows through consistency. He killed his weak self one morning at a time, one step at a time. The pattern is clear. Strength isn't about waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect opportunity. It's about taking whatever you have right now and using it. It's about understanding that every time you choose the harder path, you're building strength. Every time you push through discomfort, you're building strength. Every time you say no to your weak self, you're building strength. Your strength is built in those moments when no one's watching, when there's no external reward, when it's just you choosing between what's easy and what's right. It's built when you choose to read a book instead of watching TV, when you choose to save money instead of buying something you don't need, when you choose to face a problem instead of avoiding it. Remember this: every person who's ever done anything meaningful started by killing their weak self. They didn't wait for strength to find them. They built it, decision by decision, day by day, moment by moment. And that's exactly what you're going to do starting right now. Fear. It's the favorite weapon of your weak self. The moment you want to do something meaningful, something important, fear shows up right on schedule. It whispers in your ear all the reasons why you might fail, all the things that could go wrong, all the ways you could get hurt. But here's what most people never figure out. Fear isn't trying to protect you. It's trying to control you. Your weak self uses fear like a master puppeteer. It pulls the strings of doubt, making you dance to the tune of what if. What if you fail? What if people laugh? What if you lose everything? These questions aren't protecting you. They're paralyzing you. And every time you let fear stop you, your weak self grows stronger while your dreams grow weaker. I remember talking to a businessman in Chicago. He spent 20 years in a job he hated because fear told him he couldn't start his own company. I have a mortgage, he'd say. I have kids in school. All real concerns, but they weren't the real problem. The real problem was that he let fear make his decisions. When he finally started his business, guess what happened to those problems? They were still there. But now he was facing them as someone who had beaten fear, not someone controlled by it. Here's the truth about fear that your weak self doesn't want you to know. Action kills fear. Not thinking about it. Not planning for it, not waiting for it to go away. Action. Pure, simple, immediate action. The moment you start moving forward, fear starts losing its grip. Learning to swim. You can read every book about swimming, watch every video, listen to every expert. But until you get in the water, fear will always have power over you. The only way to kill the fear of water is to get wet. The only way to kill the fear of public speaking is to start speaking. The only way to kill the fear of starting a business is to start the business. But let me give you practical steps, because theory without action is just another hiding place for your weak self. First, name your fear. Be specific. Don't say, "I'm afraid of failure." Say exactly what you're afraid of. "I'm afraid I'll start a business and lose my savings. I'm afraid I'll ask her out and she'll say no. I'm afraid I'll change careers and not be able to support my family." Once you've named your fear, ask yourself this: what's the worst that could actually happen? Not the vague disaster your weak self is painting in your mind, but the actual, specific worst case. Write it down, look at it. Is it really as bad as the fear makes it seem? Usually it's not, and even if it is, now you can plan for it. Next, take one small action toward what you fear. Don't try to conquer it all at once. If you're afraid of public speaking, don't start with a TED Talk. Start by speaking up more in meetings. If you're afraid of starting a business, don't quit your job tomorrow. Start researching your market in the evenings. Small actions build confidence, and confidence kills fear. Here's the key that most people miss. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is acting despite fear. Every courageous person you admire feels fear. They just don't let it make their decisions. They understand that fear is like a guard dog, useful when there's real danger, but it needs to be trained, or it'll bark at everything. Your weak self wants you to wait until you feel ready, until you're not afraid anymore. But that day never comes. The only way to build courage is to act while you're afraid. Each time you do this, you prove to yourself that fear isn't in charge. Each time you face fear and survive, your strong self gets more powerful. I've seen this transformation hundreds of times. People who were terrified of speaking become powerful presenters. People paralyzed by social anxiety become magnetic networkers. People scared of leadership become inspiring managers. Not because they found some secret technique to eliminate fear, but because they learned to act despite it. Remember this. Every time you let fear stop you, you're feeding your weak self. Every time you act despite fear, you're starving it. Your weak self will always find reasons to be afraid. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be risk. The question isn't whether you feel fear. The question is who's in charge, you or the fear. The next time fear shows up, and it will recognize it for what it is. Your weak self trying to maintain control. Then do exactly what it's telling you not to do. That's how you break through. That's how you build strength. That's how you kill your weak self. Every transformation in human history has started with a single decision. Not a wish, not a hope, not a plan, a decision. Right now, in this moment, you have the power to make a decision that will change everything. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when the time is right. Now. Most people don't understand the raw power of a real decision. They think they're making decisions when they're really just making wishes. I want to get in shape. That's not a decision, that's a wish. I'm going to work out every morning at 5 a.m. starting today, no matter what. That's a decision. See the difference? A real decision cuts off all other options. It burns the boats. It changes your behavior instantly. I met a man named Robert who lost 137 pounds in 14 months. But the weight loss didn't start on day one of his diet. It started 3 minutes before, when he made a decision while looking in the mirror. He didn't say, "I should lose weight," or "I'll try to get healthy." He made a decision that changed him at the cellular level. "I will never be this weight again." In that moment, before he did anything physical, his transformation was already happening. Here's what separates real decisions from fake ones. Real decisions require immediate action. Not planning to take action, not getting ready to take action, immediate action. The moment you make a real decision, you do something about it right then, right there, even if it's small, even if it's imperfect. Every moment you wait between making a decision and taking action, you give your weak self time to sabotage you. Your weak self is like a lawyer. Give it time and it'll find loopholes in your decision. It'll give you reasons to wait, to plan more, to get ready. But you don't need to be ready. You need to be moving. That's why I'm going to ask you to do something the moment we finish this section. Not later today. Not when you feel motivated. The moment we finish. Because that gap between decision and action, that's where dreams go to die. Let me tell you about momentum because this is what your weak self really fears. Momentum is the most powerful force in personal transformation. One real decision followed by immediate action creates momentum. Momentum makes the next action easier and the next and the next. Soon you're not pushing yourself anymore. Momentum is pulling you forward. Think of it like a rocket launch. The hardest part isn't flying through space. It's those first few seconds of liftoff, breaking free from gravity. Your weak self is like gravity trying to hold you down. But once you break free, once you create momentum, everything changes. I watched this happen with Maria, a woman who wanted to start her own business for years. She had notebooks full of plans. She'd read every business book she could find, but she never started. Why? Because she was planning to take action instead of taking action. Then one day she made a real decision. Not to start a business someday, but to be a business owner starting right now. What did she do? She registered her business name that same hour. Not a huge step, but it was immediate action. That small action created momentum. By the end of the day, she had her first client, her neighbor who needed social media help. Was she ready? No. Did she know everything about running a business? No, but she had momentum, and momentum beats perfection every time. Your weak self hates momentum because momentum makes it harder to stop you. That's why it'll fight hardest in those first few moments after you make a decision. It'll tell you to wait, to plan more, to get ready. It'll tell you tomorrow is better than today. It'll tell you to start on Monday, or next month, or after the holidays. Don't listen. The power of your decision lives or dies in those first few moments. That's why successful people take action immediately after deciding. They don't wait for permission. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They don't wait until they feel ready. They act now, while their decision is hot, while their weak self is still shocked by their boldness. Here's what happens when you combine a real decision with immediate action. You create evidence. Evidence that you're serious. Evidence that this time is different. Evidence that your strong self is in charge now. This evidence becomes fuel for your next action and your next and your next. Your weak self has been winning through delay. It's been winning through later and soon and tomorrow. Today that stops. Today you make a real decision and back it with immediate action. Not a small decision about what to eat for lunch, a real decision about who you're going to be from this moment forward. And here's the beautiful part. Once you prove to yourself that you can make a real decision and take immediate action, everything changes. You'll start to see opportunities you missed before. You'll find courage you didn't know you had. You'll tap into strength that's been dormant while your weak self was in charge. The power to change everything in your life exists in this moment, in the decision you're about to make, not in some future moment when everything is perfect, right now. And the only thing that determines whether this decision will be different from all the others is what you do in the next 5 minutes. So get ready, because in a moment, I'm going to ask you to make a decision and take immediate action. No delay, no preparation, no perfect moment. Just you, your decision, and the action that will start your momentum. Building your strong self isn't a one-time event. It's a daily practice. Just like a bodybuilder doesn't get strong from one massive workout, your strong self doesn't emerge from one good day. It's built through consistent, deliberate actions that slowly kill your weak self through starvation. Your weak self starves when you stop feeding it excuses, stop giving it control, stop letting it make your choices. Start with the morning. Your first hour shapes your entire day. When your alarm rings, you have a choice. Your weak self wants you to hit snooze. Don't negotiate. Don't think about it. Put your feet on the floor immediately. This isn't just about waking up. It's about winning your first battle of the day. Every time you beat the snooze button, you're building your strong self. Make your bed. It seems small, but it's significant. It's your first achievement, your first completed task. Small victories early in the day create momentum for bigger victories later. Your weak self hates this kind of discipline. Good. That's how you know it's working. Physical discipline is non-negotiable. Your body and mind are connected. When you're physically strong, you're mentally stronger. Find a form of exercise that challenges you. Maybe it's weights, running, swimming, doesn't matter. What matters is that you do it consistently, especially when you don't feel like it. Your weak self will have a million excuses. Ignore them all. Create a morning routine that feeds your strong self. Read something that challenges your mind. Write down your goals. plan your day. Your weak self wants you to start your day reacting to whatever happens. Your strong self starts the day with purpose, with direction, with clarity. Watch what goes into your mind like you watch what goes into your body. Your weak self loves mental junk food, mindless scrolling, pointless videos, endless distractions. Start feeding your mind things that make you stronger. Read books that challenge you. Listen to content that educates you. Have conversations that make you think. Set standards for yourself that your weak self thinks are ridiculous. Your weak self is comfortable with good enough. Your strong self demands excellence. This isn't about perfectionism. It's about constant improvement. When you finish a task, ask yourself, is this my best work? If the answer is no and you still accept it, you're feeding your weak self. Create systems that make it hard for your weak self to win. Want to stop wasting time on social media? Delete the apps from your phone. Want to eat healthier? Don't keep junk food in your house. Your weak self thrives on easy access to temptation. Remove the temptation, and you remove its power. Develop the habit of keeping your word to yourself. When you say you're going to do something, do it. No matter how small, your weak self breaks promises to you all the time. I'll start tomorrow. Just this once. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you're teaching yourself that your words don't matter. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build trust with your strong self. Practice discomfort. Take cold showers. Fast for a day. Work longer than you want to. Your weak self runs from discomfort. Your strong self grows through it. Small voluntary discomforts build resistance to larger involuntary ones. Audit your relationships. Your weak self loves people who make excuses for you, who enable your worst habits, who pull you down to their level. Your strong self needs people who challenge you, who set high standards, who make you want to be better. You don't have to end relationships, but you must change their power over you. Create daily non-negotiables, things you do no matter what. Maybe it's reading for 30 minutes, exercising, drinking water, planning tomorrow. Your weak self will try to negotiate, to make exceptions. Don't let it. These non-negotiables are the foundation of your strong self. Track everything. Your weak self hides in vagueness. I eat pretty healthy. I'm pretty productive. Start tracking your food, your time, your money, your habits. Numbers don't lie. Data kills excuses. When you see the truth in numbers, your weak self loses its power to deceive you. End each day with reflection. What did you do today to build your strong self? Where did your weak self try to take control? What will you do differently tomorrow? Your weak self wants you to sleepwalk through life. Reflection keeps you awake, keeps you growing, keeps you building. Remember, your strong self and weak self can't coexist peacefully. One will always be growing while the other is dying. Every decision you make, every habit you build, every standard you set is feeding one and starving the other. Choose wisely, choose consistently, choose like your life depends on it, because it does. This isn't about perfection, it's about direction. It's about consistent progress. Your weak self will try to convince you that one slip means total failure. That's a lie. What matters is what you do next, right now, in this moment. Your strong self is built one decision at a time, one day at a time, one moment at a time. Nothing worthwhile comes without a price. Your weak self has been selling you a lie, the lie that you can have everything you want without giving up anything you have, that comfort and greatness can coexist, that you can become exceptional without making exceptional sacrifices. Today, let's face the truth about the price of greatness. First, understand this. Greatness demands everything, not some things, not most things, everything. Every minute you spend watching mindless entertainment is a minute you're not investing in your growth. Every dollar you waste on things you don't need is a dollar you're not investing in your future. Every relationship that pulls you down is energy you're not putting into rising up. Most people won't pay this price. They say they want success, but they want comfort more. They say they want achievement, but they want approval more. They say they want greatness, but they want easy more. Your weak self loves these people because they make its excuses sound reasonable. Nobody else is working this hard. Everyone else takes breaks. You're being too extreme. I watched a young athlete train for the Olympics. Know what she gave up? Everything. While her friends were partying, she was training. While they were sleeping in, she was at the gym. While they were dating, she was focusing. Her weak self screamed at her every day, "You're missing out, you're wasting your youth, one night off won't hurt." She didn't listen. She won gold. Was it worth it? Ask her medal. The price of greatness includes losing people. Some friends will drift away because you're changing and they're not. Some family members will criticize your choices because your growth makes them uncomfortable. Some relationships will end because you're no longer willing to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Your weak self will use this pain to try to pull you back. Don't let it. You'll have to give up good things to get great things. Good is the enemy of great. Your weak self is fine with good job, good relationship, good life. But good is a cage that keeps you from great. That promotion you want, it might mean giving up your free evenings, that business you dream of. It might mean giving up financial security for a while. That transformation you're after, it might mean giving up everything comfortable and familiar. The hardest price to pay is certainty. Your weak self loves certainty. It loves knowing exactly what's going to happen next. Greatness requires stepping into uncertainty. It requires risking failure. It requires being uncomfortable, being scared, being doubted. Most people won't pay this price. They'll choose the certainty of mediocrity over the uncertainty of greatness every time. You'll have to pay in advance with no guarantee of success. Your weak self hates this part. It wants guarantees. It wants to know the sacrifice will be worth it. But greatness doesn't work that way. You pay first in full with no refunds. You give everything, knowing you might fail anyway. This is why most people choose weakness. The price of potential failure seems higher than the price of certain mediocrity. The price includes pain, physical, mental, emotional. Your body will hurt from pushing harder. Your mind will hurt from learning more. Your heart will hurt from losing people. Your weak self will use this pain as evidence you should stop. But pain is the currency of growth. Every great achievement in human history was paid for in pain. You'll have to sacrifice instant gratification for delayed satisfaction. Your weak self lives for the moment. It wants pleasure now, comfort now, relief now. Greatness requires waiting. It requires investing time and energy into things that won't pay off for months or years. Most people won't pay this price. They'll choose the pleasure of the moment over the satisfaction of achievement. The price includes being misunderstood. While you're working toward your goals, most people won't get it. They'll question your choices, doubt your methods, criticize your dedication. Your weak self will use their doubts to feed your own. Remember, if everyone understood what you were doing, you'd be aiming too low. Here's the truth your weak self doesn't want you to know. You're already paying a price. Mediocrity has a price. Weakness has a price. Staying comfortable has a price. And that price is the slow death of your potential, the gradual erosion of your dreams, the quiet disappearance of everything you could have been. The question isn't whether you'll pay a price. You're paying one right now. The question is which price you'll pay, the price of discipline or the price of regret, the price of growth or the price of stagnation, the price of strength or the price of weakness. Your weak self wants you to focus on what you'll lose by pursuing greatness. Your strong self knows to focus on what you'll lose by not pursuing it. Every day you choose comfort over growth, safety over risk, good over great. You're paying the highest price of all, the price of becoming less than you could be. There comes a moment in transformation when something profound happens. It's not just that you're doing different things, you become a different person. The old identity, the one your weak self built through years of comfortable choices, begins to fade. A new identity emerges. One built on strength, discipline, and unwavering commitment. This isn't just about changing what you do. It's about changing who you are at your core. When your strong self takes charge, you stop saying, "I'm trying to exercise more," and start saying, "I'm an athlete." You stop saying, "I'm working on my business," and start saying, "I'm an entrepreneur." You stop saying, "I want to be successful," and start saying, "I am successful." These aren't just words. They're declarations of your new identity. Watch what happens when this shift occurs. You no longer have to force yourself to make good choices. You make them automatically because that's who you are now. Your strong self isn't fighting for control anymore. It is in control. Your actions flow naturally from your identity. An athlete doesn't debate whether to work out. A leader doesn't shy away from making tough decisions. An entrepreneur doesn't wait for permission to build. This new identity creates a ripple effect through every area of your life. People start treating you differently because you're carrying yourself differently. Opportunities appear because you're showing up differently. The world responds to who you are, not who you're trying to be. Your relationships transform because you're no longer the person who needed approval, who avoided conflict, who settled for less. Your work transforms because you're no longer the person who did just enough, who waited to be picked, who played it safe. Your future transforms because you're no longer the person who let fear decide, who made excuses, who waited for the perfect moment. The most powerful part? This transformation affects everyone around you. Your strength gives others permission to be strong. Your courage inspires others to be courageous. Your commitment to growth pushes others to grow. By killing your weak self, you show others that it's possible to kill theirs. This is your legacy. Not just the goals you achieve or the success you create, but the example you set. Every time you choose strength over weakness, discipline over comfort, growth over safety, you're showing others what's possible. You're creating a new standard, not just for yourself, but for everyone who sees what you've become. Your weak self wanted you to believe that you were small, that you were limited, that you were just like everyone else. Your strong self knows better. It knows that you are meant for more, that you have greatness within you, that your potential is far beyond what your weak self could imagine. This is who you are now, not who you're trying to be, not who you want to be, but who you are. Your strong self isn't just a part of you anymore, it is you. And from this moment forward, every choice, every action, every word flows from this new identity. The transformation is complete. The weak self is dead. The strong self reigns. This is your new life. Live it fully. Here's what you're going to do right now. Not after this speech, not in 5 minutes, but in this exact moment. Take out your phone. Open your calendar. Clear your schedule for the next 2 hours. This is your declaration of war against your weak self, and it starts immediately. In those 2 hours, you're going to write down every area where your weak self has been in control. Be brutally honest. Look at your health, your work, your relationships, your finances. Write it all down. Then, next to each area, write one action you can take today, not tomorrow, not next week, today, to start killing that weakness. Don't make these actions small. Don't play it safe. Your weak self is counting on you to be reasonable, to be careful, to ease into change. No. You're going to make big moves, bold choices, dramatic changes, because your weak self doesn't die from small cuts. It dies from massive, decisive action. Call that person you've been avoiding. Cancel those subscriptions that waste your time. Sign up for that program you've been putting off. Clear out the junk food from your house. Block the websites that distract you. Do it all right now in one burst of unstoppable action. Time is running out. Every second you wait is another second your weak self gains strength. Every moment of hesitation is another moment of defeat. You've spent years letting your weak self run your life. That ends today. Not gradually, not eventually, but right now. The person you're meant to be is waiting. The life you're meant to live is waiting. The impact you're meant to have is waiting. Stop waiting with them. Start moving. Start changing. Start now. Your weak self is already dead. It just doesn't know it yet. Get up and prove it.